Aliens and extraterrestrials have been a recurring theme across pop culture, be it in movies, television,
Mars are real and of artificial origin.
music, or the news.
A probe sent by an advanced alien civilization.
But despite their popularity, the debate over whether or not aliens even exist continues today. The United States government has had a direct, yet controversial role in this history. The United States is often involved in the extraterrestrial controversy through involvement with unidentified flying aircraft, beginning as early as the 1940s.
In the United States, UFOs really gained general interest in the 1940s due to a wave of sightings, including during World War II. There was a major UFO encounter right over the city of Los Angeles. It was called the Battle of Los Angeles, and a number of Coast Guard batteries fired repeatedly at objects flying in formation above Los Angeles, assuming they were Japanese Zeros. And they fired literally thousands of rounds up into the air, and they never brought a single one down. And the official explanation was it was simply a weather balloon, which led some people to somewhat sarcastically ask, how could the United States defend us against Japan, whether they couldn't even bring down a single weather balloon?
While the government initially remained open about the growing popularity of UFO sightings, this openness would be short-lived.
So in the 40s, there was a lot of general interest, and overall, even the scientific community was interested. The US government was actually quite open at the time about fostering this interest. But then I would say probably by the early 1960s, there was a definite lid of secrecy that was clamped down. In particular, there was one Kentucky Air National Guard pilot named Thomas Mantell who lost his life when he and some other pilots were ordered to scramble into the sky to pursue a UFO that was flying over Kentucky. And Mantell had gotten so high elevation-wise that officially he had blacked out and his plane crashed to the ground. And so once the United States had a public casualty from a pilot, then we really saw a big lid of secrecy on UFOs clamped down.
The most well-known UFO incident occurred in 1947, after reports surfaced of debris from a flying disc being found near Roswell, New Mexico. The military cited a weather balloon as the source. The Roswell UFO incident was essentially forgotten until around the 70s, when the event gave rise to growing suspicion that the materials were from an alien spacecraft and that perhaps even alien beings were recovered. This led to widespread belief that the United States government was involved in a cover-up about the incident, and perhaps around the knowledge of extraterrestrial life in general. However, an Air Force investigation did not locate or develop any information supporting the notion that the Roswell incident was a true UFO event, nor was there any indication of a cover-up by the government. The incident remains one of the most popular controversies in American ufology. Less than 1,000 miles from Roswell sits perhaps the most commonly known government entity associated with possible extraterrestrial knowledge and research, the U.S. Air Force facility dubbed Area 51.
So Area 51 has had a place in ufology ever since the 1980s when there were rumors of its existence. We now know that it was probably built in the early 1950s, and it was built on grid number 51 on the Nellis Air Force Test Range, which was an enormous tract of government property in Nevada. Lockheed Martin, who subcontracted a lot of government work, had outgrown their facilities at Bakersfield, California, and they needed to expand to a more private, covert area where experimental aircraft could be tested. The government actually denied the existence of Area 51 even up into the late 90s when Russian spy satellite photographs were surfacing. It was actually such a secret facility that for decades the government entirely kept Groom Lake off of all maps. And it is still in use today. In fact, over the last 10 years, the security has really increased around Area 51. They have closed off the majority of scenic overlooks. The closest you can get now is within about 25 miles. The base is actually so secure that if you even get close to the boundary, their private unmarked security force is already waiting there for you. There are motion sensors, there are vibrational sensors in the ground, there are infrared sensors at night, and the base is also patrolled regularly by helicopters and military jets. So it is a very high security place. What we know for sure is that high-end terrestrial aircraft have been tested. The real debate, though, about Area 51 comes in because some former employees, like Bob Lazar, claim that they actually reverse-engineered extraterrestrial craft at Area 51. Some rumors have gone so far to say that there are actually live extraterrestrials at Area 51 working with human scientists there.
The security and secrecy surrounding Area 51 led some to wonder what is truly going on within, particularly surrounding the possibility of extraterrestrial life. However, the lack of information available means we may never know if Area 51 is anything besides a military test site. Besides possible cover-ups, the United States government has actually been publicly involved in the investigation of extraterrestrial life. After the Roswell incident, the United States government initiated Project Blue Book in the 1950s in order to document and investigate UFO reports. A total of 12,618 were reported to the project, with 701 sightings remaining unidentified. The investigation came to the conclusion that no UFO investigated by the Air Force has ever given any indication of a threat to our national security, involved advanced technology exceeding modern science, or been categorized as an extraterrestrial vehicle. The formal search for extraterrestrial life in the scientific community continues today, often with involvement of the U.S. government.
So the official search for extraterrestrial life goes on through mainstream astronomy and what's called the SETI program, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Basically, it uses a network of radio telescopes all around Earth to search for patterned radio signals from extraterrestrials. Officially, they have never found any, but some signals have come through, like one that was found by Ohio State University, which is simply dubbed now the WOW signal, because it appeared to be such a strong artificial signal that the astronomer who received it printed out the message and wrote "wow" exclamation point in the margin beside it. There has never been a sufficient explanation for that signal. Other astronomers have come out under the condition of anonymity and said multiple radio signals from extraterrestrials have been intercepted over the past 30 to 40 years, but they have been kept covered up. In fact, even with the SETI program itself, they have a protocol in place that if they do discover an extraterrestrial signal, rather than share it openly with the world, they are required to first share it with the U.S. government, who then has to best disseminate how to share that information with the public. Fingers crossed. Some people are starting to move away from radio SETI, and they're trying to look for what's now called optical SETI. They feel that radio waves for an advanced civilization might be as obsolete as telegraphs are for us today. And so they're starting to actually look for patterned light bursts from other stars, like a laser beam. There are very high energy explosions in deep outer space called gamma ray bursts. And one curious thing about gamma ray bursts is they only really come from one direction in outer space. The fancy term for that is anisotropically. Whereas if they're truly natural, they should be spread evenly across the whole sky. So SETI is looking for patterned radio signals. Meanwhile, astronomers have already identified over 3,700 exoplanets or extrasolar planets. These would be planets that are circling stars other than our own sun, and we have thousands more awaiting confirmation. And this is really just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
The discovery of exoplanets, particularly the handful similar to Earth, has led many to believe that we are not alone in the universe. As we discover more exoplanets and learn more about them, they may provide the best opportunity to discover life as we know it. As the search here on Earth continues, and as we gain deeper and greater knowledge about space and the universe, the answer to "Are we alone?" may soon be answered, if it hasn't been already. However, one must also ponder what value or meaning or relevance this answer has if we are stuck here on Earth.
There are multiple political, economic, and religious undertones and consequences to finding other life in the universe. But until we actually do and can see the bigger picture of what we on planet Earth are actually a part of, our problems here on this planet will only continue.
you.